Okay, we are going to be ranking Stephen King adaptations. A couple of rules for this tier list. Number one, we are specifically ranking the film adaptations. We're not ranking the Stephen King books. So if the book is really good, but it was a shitty adaptation, that's too bad. That does not weigh into the decision here. We are only talking specifically about the movies today. Secondly, this is just my personal ranking, so I am not doing an objective list. I am not doing what I think are the best movies ever made. I am just going with movies that I enjoy and ranking them on how much I enjoy them. Third thing is, this originally was a list that I found on the tier list website, and they have plenty of Stephen King adaptations here, but I did have to add a few of my own because I saw some were missing, and there are a few on this list that I have not seen, so that's why I added a category of haven't seen. But besides that, let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. I'm not going to be able to go in depth on all of these movies, of course, but I will be talking about quite a handful of them. So starting right off the bat with Carrie, of course, based on Stephen King's very first novel, and I do believe it was the first Stephen King movie adaptation too. Most of these are in release order. There might be a few that are out of order, but I think Carrie was kind of the introduction to Stephen King to the world. Of course, it has the iconic finale that everybody remembers and is pretty much the only image that's ever shown of the movie during the prom sequence where Carrie completely is unleashed upon the world. All of her powers are unleashed on everybody, covered in blood, getting vengeance on her bullies, and then going after her mom as well. The performances here, Sissy Spacek as Carrie, and of course, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the actress's name that plays Carrie's mom. Just devastating, man. Obviously, you know, this is one of those movies where it's like, it's hard to go into it blind because it's so iconic for its final scene. But if you've never seen Carrie, I just spoiled it for you. But, you know, if you rewind this video a couple of seconds and just pretend I didn't say that, if you've never seen Carrie before, I highly recommend it, especially if you don't know where the story is going to go. But everything leading up to that is really tragic. You know, there's a lot of high school bullying going on that, you know, it just hurts to watch, as well as her home life. And just what a horrible life Carrie has. And the movie is a horror movie, even without the supernatural element. Just seeing the kind of life that she's forced to live feels enough of a horror movie on its own. But then you add in, of course, that Stephen King splash of flavor of the supernatural. Now, I try to be very particular about my top tier, my S tier, which I renamed Masterpiece tier. I try not to put too many movies in that tier because I want that tier to be special. You know what I mean? I don't want to put more than like 5 or 6 movies in that tier at best. So right now, I think Carrie is great. I love the movie. I don't know if I would quite go far enough to say it's a masterpiece, but I'm going to put it up in the great movie category. So it's right about there. It's right about there in my opinion. Next we have Salem's Lot, directed by Tobe Hooper. This was actually a TV miniseries, but many people just kind of consider it to be a movie, and it is still the definitive Salem's Lot, but we'll get to that later. I love this adaptation a lot. You know, I'm a big Tobe Hooper fan from the movies I've seen of his, and this one I always remember. I can't remember because I wasn't born until the late 80s, so I didn't see it when it first aired, but I definitely either remember it playing on TV or maybe I rented it when I was a kid. I remember watching it as a kid and being really scared by it. As an adult, you know, it's not quite as scary, but it still has creepy scenes like the vampire kid floating in the window and everything. And it actually is one of the Stephen King books that I have read, and I can say that it's a pretty good adaptation, although the book is better, but we're not ranking on the books here. So I'm going to put Salem's Lot also up in great movie. And for me, I'm going to put it ahead of Carrie, actually. So I'm sure there won't be any controversial opinions on this list whatsoever. Yeah, this one is going in Masterpiece without a shadow of a doubt. Now, regardless of what Stephen King thinks about this adaptation, remember, we're only ranking the films. We're not doing it in comparison to the books. The Shining is a goddamn masterpiece. It's one of Stanley Kubrick's best films. It's one of Jack Nicholson's best performances. I love the way this movie looks. I love the wide shots. I love the long takes. I love the way it feels. Danny, come play with us. Like, there's so many things about this movie that are great. The insanity of the ending. And just, this is one of those movies that's been so hyper analyzed where it's like, was it about this? Was it about this? And what I love about that is it allows everybody to have their own personal opinion about what the movie is really about, what it's really trying to say. You know, you have the people that play the movie forward and backwards and see how it matches up. Some people say it's about Stanley Kubrick talking about the moon landing. Who knows what this movie is really about? But what I love about this film is this kind of slow tension building, slow burn feeling to it that you just feel the madness from the get-go. Shelley Duvall's incredible performance. There's just nothing bad to say about that movie. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, absolutely a masterpiece, in my opinion. Next, we get to Creepshow, which I believe Stephen King wrote the script for. It's a George Romero movie, but I don't think it was based on any Stephen King novels or short stories. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it was, but I think it was just the screenplay. But hey, it still counts. It was written by Stephen King, so let's count it. I'm a big fan of Creepshow. I'm a big George Romero fan in general, and I think Creepshow is a lot of fun. It's one of those horror movies that I think is more fun than it is scary. Like, I wouldn't say that Creepshow is scary. You know, it has a couple moments, but it's very much, when you watch it, it's presented as if it's a comic book come to life. You know, in an era way before traditional comic book films, like the way that it transitions from story to story. It's an anthology film, the wackiness of it, the zany kind of Looney Tunes energy to it at times. My favorite story is the one with the monster in the box, of course, Fluffy. So yeah, Creepshow is great. I don't think I can call it a masterpiece, but I am going to put it in the great movie category. And again, for me, I'm going to put it above Carrie and above Salem's Lot. Yeah, I like it a lot. Then we have Christine, directed by John Carpenter. First of all, you know, look at just the list that we have so far between Brian De Palma, Tobe Hooper, George Romero, Stanley Kubrick, and now John Carpenter. Think about how many great directors were attached to Stephen King projects, you know? Like, that is kind of that's an insane run. If I was an author, you know, and that level of talent had directed multiple movies I mean, right there, we've got a lot of movies to go through, but like right there, we're good. Like we're solid. You know what I mean? We're already locked into like one of the greatest of all time because of these first five. Christine is a really fun movie. You have to be on board with the concept, but it feels like such a classic 80s slasher movie, except the slasher is a car. Yeah, but it's great. I love the soundtrack to it. I think it's one of John Carpenter's best musical scores. Again, this movie is really, really great. Almost borderline masterpiece territory to me. I'm going to put it up even above Creepshow. I really am going to put it up even above Creepshow. Yeah, it's going to be right there. It's going to be right there. But this one is close for me. This one is just like, it's teetering on the edge of masterpiece. And maybe by the end of the list, I'll change my mind. Then we have Cujo. And again, this is a movie I remember watching as a kid and being really scared of. I can't say I watched it recently as an adult, but I do remember particular scenes kind of burned into my brain from being a child of just this crazy giant rabid dog. But then also, you know, you watch those scenes when you're older and it's just a dog with like, you know, some makeup effects on him and stuff. Like, this is before the advent of CGI, so a lot of times they were using a real dog. But it is scary, man. And dog attacks are no joke. Like, fucking for real, man. Like, this is actually, like, something that's pretty scary. I think Cujo is decent. I wouldn't say that it's great or anything, but I think it's decent. I like it. Next is Dead Zone with Christopher Walken, where you can sort of see visions of people's true selves or their future and whatnot. It's pretty good. Again, one that I haven't watched in a really long time, but I remember liking it quite a bit. But it's not recent enough in my memory that I can confidently say great movie. I think it's great movie, decent, somewhere around there. I think it's pretty good. Man, I really need to rewatch it. But as of right now, I'm going to put it probably at the very top, like the tippity top of the decent category. Then we have Children of the Corn, Eli. That's his name, right? The little weird kid. Yeah, Children of the Corn, man. Children of the Corn is one of those movie horror series where I've never seen any of the sequels. I don't even know how many they made. I don't know if there's a remake. I've only ever seen the first one. And I'm probably going to repeat myself a lot here, but it is something that scared me as a child. That as an adult just doesn't quite hit the same way. Children of the Corn it's okay. Now I'm kind of like teetering the category and decent category. Like it's all right. I'm gonna put it. It's decent. It's decent. It's okay for what it is. The era that it came out. It's not terrible. Firestarter is going to be the first here that I have not seen. So I thought I've seen this movie, but looking into it and looking at the synopsis and the trailer and stuff, I'm pretty sure I never actually watched it. I thought I might have watched it when I was really young, but I don't think I've ever seen it. So I can't comment on Firestarter. But I can comment on Silver Bullet. Good good werewolf flick. And there's not enough of those. I was actually thinking about doing a top 10 werewolf movie list video. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that or not. I don't know if Silver Bullet would make it on there, but I love werewolf movies, man. We don't get enough of them. And I'm excited to go see the new Wolfman remake. There was that werewolves movie that just came out. I don't know if that was any good. I didn't get a chance to see it, but Silver Bullet is pretty good for the time period. You kind of have to, look at it in that respect. It might not hold up today so much, but for the time period, not bad. I'm going to put up in decent. I'm going to put it above Cujo. I'm going to put it right up there. Cat's Eye is another one that I have not seen, so I can't comment on that. I don't even know what it's about, to be honest. But this next one is my shit right here. Stand By Me, masterpiece. Masterpiece. I love this movie with all my heart and soul. So one of these days, I'm going to do a big, maybe my top 50 favorite films list or something. Stand By Me is not in my top 10, but it would certainly be in my top 20. I love this movie. This is a movie with no horror elements in it whatsoever. It's a movie about friendship. It's a movie about, the ending quote is, "You never have friends like the ones you had when you were 12." And I feel like that's so true. It's a coming of age sort of story, and you're dealing with kids that are around that age. They're kind of in the 12, 13, 14. I don't know exactly how old they're supposed to be, but it's right around that sort of formative age where you're kind of like, you're going out and doing more stuff. You're definitely not anywhere close to being an adult, but you're not like a little kid anymore. You're sort of in that era where you're really kind of discovering yourself, or like the beginnings of who you're going to be in life, are happening. And it's a story about a bunch of friends that want to go out and find this dead body that is out in the woods. And the adventures that ensue. There's the bully character that is typical for Stephen King stuff. It takes place in the 50s. That is typical for Stephen King stuff. But I really love this movie, man. It warms my heart. It's one of those movies that really makes me feel good. It's a feel-good movie, but it also makes me really sad because it gets me nostalgic for childhood, and it makes me just think about particular things. And every time I watch it, I love it. Stand By Me, I highly, highly recommend if you've never seen it. Switching gears entirely now, we're going to Maximum Overdrive, which is the only movie that Stephen King himself has ever directed. And this movie is bonkers. This is talk about Looney Tunes energy. This movie, man, literally the main truck, which I noticed on the poster here is not even what it actually looks like, has an image of the Green Goblin from Spider-Man. The Green Goblin truck is the bad guy. Machines come alive, trucks, vehicles, vending machines. I don't know what's going on. Emilio Estevez. It's bonkers, man. Like, characters get trapped in this. I think it's like a gas station, and the trucks are circling it. All the mechanics, AI's taking over the world. It is wacky. It is silly. I love it, man. I think this is a great movie, but it's like, it's great for a particular type of person. Like, this movie will not appeal to everybody. This is not great in the way that The Shining or Stand By Me is. It's great in the complete opposite kind of way. I'm going to put it up in great movie, and I'm going to put it behind Creepshow. I'm going to put it right there. So yes, I am ranking Maximum Overdrive over Carrie, but listen, this is a list based upon my personal favorites. This is not objective, okay? Carrie is a better movie than Maximum Overdrive. I agree. But as far as movies that are fun to watch for me, this is how I would rank it. Anyways, Creepshow 2. I actually don't know. Okay, so I don't know if Stephen King wrote the script for this one or not. I could probably easily fact check this. Okay, so there was a handful of writers, but Stephen King still is one of them. So yeah, Creepshow 2, not directed by George Romero, but I don't hate it. I think it's got some good segments on there. The one with like the weird swimming area that like causes people to melt and shit like that is pretty cool. Not as good as the first one, but pretty good. I'm gonna put it in the decent category. I'm gonna put it right below Silver Bullet. I'll put it there. I feel like yeah, that works. Then we have The Running Man, and oddly enough, this is the most recent movie that I watched on this list. Rewatch, anyways, because I want to do another tier list soon of all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So I'm rewatching movies that I haven't seen in a long time and watching all of his movies that I have never seen. The Running Man, I'll talk about that again in the Arnold tier list, but I love The Running Man. I love this movie so much, and I think it's so significant to what is happening in modern day times. It's this idea that they take criminals or people that are convicted and put them into this game show arena of survival. So it reminds me of something that like in the future, like Mr. Beast would probably host or something. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's that kind of shit. But then they also do this stuff where they distort the perception of things that are happening through not AI, because AI hadn't really existed. I don't know what the technology is that they use, but news and media outlets will, change and manipulate events to the point where like it'll show somebody doing something that they didn't actually do, and they'll be promoting that as the truth and as evidence of their crimes. And I'm like, man, with AI advancing, we're going to get there sooner rather than later. I'm going to put it up in great movie. I'm going to put it just behind Christine. Pet Sematary, the original, another one that I really enjoy. Obviously, everyone knows the story. There's the pet cemetery. You bury something there. It comes back to life. Man loses his child. After he sees the cat comes back, he's like, well, tries to get his kid back, but they come back wrong. Very, very wrong. And remember that you don't want to go down that road. Great movie. Great movie. I'm going to put it below Carrie, but very good. Very great. Next one, Tales from the Dark Side, I have not seen. So I have to put this one in the haven't seen category. Along with Graveyard Shift, I have not seen. So I have to put that down there too. Then we get to the 90s It. So this one is, of course, iconic for Tim Curry's performance. It's got a lot of great young actors, including Seth Green. I'm always forgetting that Seth Green is in it, and then every time I watch it, I'm like, yo, Seth Green. I love the It story, man. There's just... we're counting both parts. We're counting like the whole thing together, so the whole series. The only problem with It is its ending, but I just feel like it's not the kind of ending that can translate well to live action, no matter what you do. No matter what version of it is, it just doesn't work. Everything up until that point does, but I think it's just so much of a fantasy kind of idea that works very well in writing, but just does not translate to the screen. And it just doesn't work. But everything about it besides that is really well done. I think for the time period, the effects for a TV movie are pretty good. And of course, it haunted the nightmares of everybody in my age generation. We were all afraid of Pennywise. I'm not even like a dude that's afraid of clowns. Like in general, like the concept of a clown doesn't scare me, but Pennywise specifically, the Tim Curry version, definitely scared me when I was a kid. The It, I'm going to say it's great. This is my personal opinions, my personal list. I'm going to say It is great. I like it more than Pet Sematary. I like it more than Carrie. I like it more than Salem's Lot. Yes. Next one here, I have not seen either. I think it says Sometimes They Come Back. So, I don't know. By the way, any of the ones that I haven't seen, if any of you guys have seen them and like them and are like, yo, you're missing out, dude. You got to watch this. Let me know which ones and I'll check them out. Misery, dude. Talk about a horror movie. Oh my God. Misery, it's getting the masterpiece tier. I'm not putting it above the other two, but it's getting the masterpiece tier. Misery is such a terrifying movie, and Kathy Bates gives one of the best performances in a horror movie ever. I can't remember if she was nominated or won the Academy Award for that, but she definitely deserves it. Essentially, if you don't know the story, it's about, and it's also an interesting look at like that parasocial relationship, that you have between creator and fan, which is even scarier today. A lot of these movies, you know what I mean? Like Running Man, Misery, a lot of their thoughts, ideas, and concepts are like 10 times worse today, or like we're getting to that point where it's like it's so prevalent in almost everything that you see, where Kathy Bates' character is an obsessed fan of this author. He ends up in a car accident and she rescues him, but he can't move, or he's too injured, and she keeps him locked in her house, basically forcing him to write a continuation to his story. And every time he tries to escape, she thwarts it to the point where there's this whole famous scene where she breaks his ankles so that he can't walk at all. And she just keeps him there, and she's just like in love with him, but she's also psychotic. She switches back and forth between being kind and nurturing and caring, and then also flying off the handle and like screaming at him and stuff. It is just insane, and he can't like escape. Like, it's in the middle of winter, he's trapped in this house, he can't walk, he's got no communication with the outside, and it's a movie without anything supernatural that just terrifies you. The tension that builds in this movie, the anxiety I feel when I watch it, I love it. It is a masterpiece in my opinion. Next, Sleepwalkers. This is a movie that I love, and I know it's not for everybody, and it is cheesy, it is corny, the special effects are bad, but I don't care. It's about evil cat people that are like taking over this town. And there is a cat. There's an actual cat character in this movie called Clovis. And at one point in time, when I first watched this movie, like many, many years ago, I was so stoked on the character of Clovis that I made Clovis for President t-shirts with the cat's picture. I wish I still had that t-shirt. I should make another one. Because the only thing that scares and can defeat the cat people is real cats. And Clovis is the hero of this movie. For Clovis the cat, I'm going to put this up in great movie. I know I'm going to piss people off because people hate this movie, but I love it. I'm going to put Sleepwalkers, I can't reasonably put it any higher, but I'm going to put it behind Carrie. I love Sleepwalkers. But you know what I love more than Sleepwalkers? Is Stephen King's The Stand. So I haven't seen this in a long time, but this is the mini series, The Stand. I think it's 4 parts, 4 episodes. I love this series. I just found it on Blu-ray not too long ago at Walmart, and I bought it. I haven't rewatched it yet, but I was so excited to find it because I used to have a DVD copy, and I don't know, just disappeared into the ether. But I got it on Blu-ray, and I can't wait to rewatch it. The Stand is one of Stephen King's early books. Randall Flagg is the villain. Essentially, it takes place right after the apocalypse. Most of humanity has died. It's basically this big, like, heaven versus hell, biblical thing where there's a ragtag group of people that all need to meet up and try to, take back the world and everything. It's epic. It's from the 90s. It's a TV, so, like, the special effects and stuff, don't expect anything great. But I love this series. I remember watching it when I was a kid. I remember watching it as a teenager, and I'm so excited to rewatch it now as an adult. I love it. I'm putting it up in great, and I am going to put this even above Creepshow. That's where I'm going to put it. I love The Stand. Love it, love it, love it. Next up is another mini-series, I believe, the Langoliers. I can't remember if it was a mini-series or just a TV movie, but I really like the Langoliers as well. A bunch of characters get trapped at this airport. No one's there. Nothing's around. And as it unravels, you essentially learn that they're sort of trapped in this pocket of time that no longer exists. It's a weird concept to try to explain, but the movie is very, very good. A lot of people don't like it because the Langoliers are these mythological creatures that basically eat away past events in time. And when you see the Langoliers in it, a lot of people don't like it because it's, hey, guess what? Cheesy 90s television CGI. Okay. But I don't care. It's fine. I like the movie. I like the characters. I like the story. The CGI, yeah, it sucks, but it's also kind of charming in a 90s kind of way. I like it. I like it, man. I don't think it's great. I'm probably going to put it up in decent, but I'm going to put it probably right below Silver Bullet. I like it. I enjoy it. And the next one is The Lawnmower Man. Oh my God. Early renditions of virtual reality. Um, Dude, I don't even know. I enjoyed this movie a lot when I first watched it. I think I first watched it when I was in high school with my friend Matt, and we had a ball with it. We were laughing our asses off. The performances, the what CGI or effects, whatever they used for the virtual reality effects, they looked awful then. They look awful now, but we had a fun time watching it, and that might be the only time I ever saw it, but it definitely stuck in my mind. Because I enjoyed it, I'm gonna put it up in decent. It's not very good, but it's decent. I'm gonna put it below Cujo, but above Children of the Corn. So Pet Sematary 2. Never seen it. Never seen it. The Dark Half, though. This is another George Romero movie. Not one of his better ones, or better Stephen King adaptations. Dude sort of has like a dual personality. He's a serial killer. It's okay. It's all right. I don't remember too much from it, to be honest. I know that I've seen it, but I don't remember too much from it. I'm going to put it up in decent. Needful Things. Mysterious stranger comes to town, starts selling people weird stuff. Chaos ensues. That's about all I remember. I remember Ed Helms in it. That's that actor's name, right? I don't know. I might be wrong. But I don't remember too much about it. It's been too long. And this is where I feel bad sometimes, because I wish that I would have went back and rewatched all these movies. I just don't have time to. I'm trying to watch every single Arnold movie. Anyways, Needful Things. From what I remember, I can't remember too much about it. So I'm going to put it up in the category. So it's like, I think it's good. I don't really remember. Shawshank Redemption. Is there any question? Is there any question whatsoever? It's just a matter of where in the masterpiece category it goes. I probably like The Shining more. I probably like Stand By Me more. I probably like Misery more, honestly. So I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to put Shawshank Redemption. Everyone knows, man. Shawshank Redemption, it's on everyone's best movies of all time list. I don't know, IMDb, AFI, wherever. Man is falsely imprisoned, has to live life in prison, tries to escape. Morgan Freeman given some of the most badass, iconic quotes of all time. Hope can kill a man. Morgan Freeman at his absolute best. I mean, what more can you say about it? Shawshank Redemption, and it deserves it, man. It deserves it. You know, it might not be in my personal top favorite, 10 or 20 movies, but it's a movie that I recognize objectively is probably one of the best, movies ever made. So unfortunately, these next two here I also haven't seen. So this is Quicksilver Highway. I don't know what that is. And then The Mangler. So I don't know what that is either. Dolores Claiborne with Kathy Bates is a really good drama. I do remember watching it, but not a lot stands out to me from it other than I just remember Kathy Bates being really good in it. I remember it kind of goes like back and forth in time between her life and stuff. It's a drama, not a horror, not a supernatural kind of movie, but just a movie to kind of showcase how great of an actress she is. So I'm going to put it up in decent from what I remember. I'll probably put it. Yeah, let's put it up in there because I do remember her being really, really great in it. It's been a long time since I've seen it. The Night Flyer, I have also not seen. I have no idea what that is. The movie Thinner. So this is probably gonna go in the category for me too. I think it's directed by the dude that directed the first Child's Play, actually. But it's a concept. The dude gets cursed by gypsies, gets thinner and thinner over time. It's all right, I guess. It's okay, There's worse things you can watch, for sure. But definitely not one of that director's best, in my opinion. Apt Pupil, I also have not seen. So I got to put that down here. Then we get to The Green Mile. Many people would also say this is one of the best films ever made. Michael Clark Duncan, also kind of falsely imprisoned. We got Tom Hanks here in one of his best roles of all time. Green Mile is really, really good. And this is where there probably is going to be confliction because anybody else would probably put it up in masterpiece. But again, if I was ranking this objectively, like what do I think are the best made films here? I'd probably go The Shining, Shawshank Redemption, and Green Mile. Those are like the best made as flawless as you can be kind of films. But if we're going with like personal taste, personal preferences, I like The Green Mile a lot, but I don't love it as much as the other ones that are up in the masterpiece tier for me. I don't even like it as much as Christine or The Running Man. The Stand is a tricky one for me, personally. But going by my personal list, I'd probably put it somewhere in here. I guess I'll give it the edge because, it just has like a better production than a TV series. But this is nothing against the movie. I'm not saying that the movie... And like, this is a good category. Every movie in this category is great. Hearts in Atlantis. Anthony Hopkins is really good in this, has a psychic ability, connects with this young boy character, kind of like a mentor that he needs in his life. Really, really good. I would say, again, it's one of those that's like not fresh enough in my mind to quite put it up in great movie, but I think I'll put it in decent. I remember it being pretty heartwarming. I'm going to put it probably right below Silver Bullet once again. All right, Dreamcatcher. I hear the book is really good. I haven't read it. The movie is all right. It's a little bit reminiscent of The Thing. I remember liking all of the alien sequences and stuff when I was younger, but it's not great. It's okay though. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's okay. CGI looks whatever for the time. I think I'll put it up in... I think it's okay. I'll put it up in the category. It's all right. It's okay. Next one here, Secret Window. So I actually loved this movie a lot when I was younger. When I was in high school, this was one of the movies I would watch all the time for some reason. I don't know what that says about me as a person. It is also kind of derivative of, well, I don't want to spoil it, I guess, but of another movie that's way better. But Johnny Depp in a kind of suspense thriller sort of movie. John Turturro is really intimidating and cool in it. Suspenseful. I like it. I like it for what it is. I'm going to put it up in decent. Above Silver Bullet for me. For me personally, just for movies that I enjoy, I'll put it up around that category. I think it's all right. Riding the Bullet. This is a movie I've seen one time, and I remember not loving it. I remember wanting to like it. I remember the reason I watched it was because I saw it was a Stephen King adaptation. And afterwards, I was like, yeah. Anyways. 1408, I kind of feel the same way. It's another suspense thriller with like a supernatural edge to it. I think it's okay. I think for me, I'll put it up. I'll put it up here. Yeah. Okay. Desperation, another one that I have not seen. Then we got The Mist. Okay. So The Mist is a strange one to rank because everybody remembers The Mist. And we remember it because of that final scene. You know what I mean? Everybody remembers The Mist because of the ending. And the ending is fucked up. And that's why you remember it. So on that level, it works. But the rest of the movie, I think is okay, just okay. Thomas Jane is a good actor. I've always loved him. I like how there's a little reference to the Dark Tower in the beginning where he's painting. We'll talk about the Dark Tower here soon. But yeah, overall, I think this movie is just all right. I think it's the ending that makes it memorable. I think it's the ending that people talk about. And if you haven't seen it, I guess I won't spoil it for you, but it's not a happy ending whatsoever. And it goes all the way with it. And for that, I got to say the movie has balls. But just as a film in general, I think it's okay. So I'm going to put this up in decent. I probably like it more than these ones here. I'll put it there. Yeah, so like the middle of the decent category. But it's mostly because of that ending. All right, next one. To tell you the truth, I couldn't even read the poster, but it's A Good Marriage. I've never seen that either. So let me know if that one is good. The next one is the Carrie remake from 2013. I was very disappointed with this one. I think one of the biggest detriments to this movie, and this is no slight against the actress because I think she's a good actress, but Chloe Moretz just wasn't the right fit for Carrie. I just didn't buy her being the outcast, bullied, picked on, tortured kind of character. I don't know. There was just something about her performance that just didn't land for me with that. She's fine when she's being a badass and covered in blood and killing people, a la Hit Girl. But when she had to play the kind of tortured soul of Carrie, I don't know. There's something about it that just didn't hit for me. Also, I thought the CGI in the movie was not good for the time period. And I can let CGI pass when it's like a 90s TV movie. But when it was 2013, and you're doing this, like there's some instances where there's no reason for CGI. And if you're going to use CGI, at least try to make it look good. But this movie did not. So I'm going to put this movie in, actually, it's going to be our first in the ass category. Next is Cell, which is a zombie movie that also has John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson, which is interesting. It's people returning to like infected zombies. It's on like cell phone radiation or towers or something like that. I don't quite remember. I do remember the movie did go there. Like it was pretty brutal in particular scenes. I've only seen it once. It wasn't too memorable to me. And there's a lot of other zombie movies I would rather watch, but it was okay. I'm going to put it in the category, probably, probably there. I'll say anything with Sam Jackson in it is at least tolerable to watch. This has always been the case. All right, here we go. We've reached it. The Dark Tower. Oh my fucking God, I hate this movie. Let me just say the good thing about this movie. The casting was all right. Idris Elba as Roland and Matthew McConaughey as Randall Flagg. I don't mind that. Casting is fine. But this movie is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, going in the ass category. Wow. Okay, so let me tell you something. I love the Dark Tower series. It's one of the first book series where I read every single installment in the series. It meant so much to me. I have it in my bookcase back there, kind of going on the bottom shelf. I love the story of Roland, Katet, Eddie Dean, all these great characters. I love the series. And the Dark Tower movie is just an abysmal adaptation of this series. First of all, it's one movie. The book series is 7 books plus side stories, but 7 main books in the Dark Tower series. And this movie tried to somehow take elements and condense 7 books worth of material into like a 90-minute movie. It was never going to work. It also had this very weird tone to it. It didn't feel serious. It didn't feel important. You didn't feel the sense of the journey that Roland was on. You didn't feel his internal struggle and torment. Also, way too much of like the Roland versus Randall Flagg stuff, where in the first book, first of all, you don't even know his name. He's just the man in black. And Roland is just trying to find him for most of the book. They add in Jake, which he kind of takes over the protagonist role where, okay, he is a protagonist, but Roland is the main character. We got to start with Roland. We need to establish Roland before we move any further. It didn't have any of the high fantasy fun elements of the other books that, like book 3, book 4 gets into. And the thing about the Dark Tower series, if you don't know, is it really... it's a series that has, different worlds, different universes and things like that in play, but it really connects a lot of Stephen King's work. Like there's stuff from Salem's Lot that shows up in the Dark Tower. There's stuff from The Stand that shows up in the Dark Tower. There's stuff from It that shows up in the Dark Tower. So many of Stephen King's other stuff is kind of encapsulated within that series, and there's elements of it. There's characters that show up. Like, it's the main Stephen King series. And the Dark Tower meant so much to me, man. I even have one of my tattoos is the motherfucking Dark Tower, and I got this when I was like 21, 22 years old, early 20s. Love the Dark Tower. Got a tattoo of it. So you can imagine I was stoked for this movie. I thought doing a movie, wasn't necessarily a bad thing if they had a series, if this was an adaptation of The Gunslinger, but they just called the movie The Dark Tower, which was already, making me suspicious. And I went to see it and I tried my absolute best to give it the benefit of the doubt, but it is horrible. It is horrendous and I hate it. I heard rumors that Mike Flanagan currently has the rights to do a Dark Tower miniseries or TV series or Netflix series or something. do that. Just stay away from this movie at all costs. Next is the It remake. So I'm counting this as It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. It's one story. Let's just count it all together like we counted the 90s It. I like this version. I like this version a lot. A lot of people don't. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings on it, but I think Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is great. I love the cast of kids in the first one. Now, It Part 1 is way better than It Part 2. But I don't even think Part 2 is that bad, except for the ending. But like I said earlier, you can't really do the It ending in live action. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, I didn't think It Part 2, the movie, was all that bad, minus some CGI moments where it just doesn't look good. And, of course, the ending. But It Part 1, I really, really enjoyed. Up to the point where I'm going to put it up towards the top with the other one. Hard to compare them. They are very different. But overall, for me, for my personal sensibilities, I might have to put the new It's above the 90s one. I know people are going to hate me for that, but it is what it is. It's my list. I don't like it more than Maximum Overdrive, though, because that movie is amazing. Next one is 1922. I thought it was pretty good. What's funny about this one is actually I didn't even know this was a Stephen King movie when I watched it. I just liked the cast. And I heard some good things about it, so I watched it on Netflix one day. It wasn't until after I watched it that I realized it was a Stephen King thing. But I liked it. Not great. Probably in the decent category. We'll put it above Children of the Corn. No, I can't. It's right there. It's not bad. Gerald's Game I thought was really good. Is this also directed by Mike Flanagan? It is. I'm not crazy. Yeah, it is directed by Mike Flanagan. So yeah, he did a great job with this. He does a great job with Stephen King stuff. I mean, he's like, I just watched Midnight Mass for the first time. I know I'm late to the game, but man, did that feel like a Stephen King story. You know what I mean? Gerald's Game was good. It was good. Not the best, but good. I'm going to put it up in pretty high, decent category. Just because I like these movies more. Because I have more history with them, I'll put it there. But Gerald's Game was pretty good. I liked it. Big Driver I have not seen, so that's going to go there. These Pet Sematary remake, not very good. Not very good. Not the worst. I don't know if I can put it in ass, but like it's... I'll be nice. It's there. Next, Dr. Sleep. All right, so this is going to be controversial, as if nothing else on my list is. Dr. Sleep, directed by Mike Flanagan, technically a sequel to The Shining. I don't really consider it a sequel so much as it's a movie that takes place in the Shining world universe. Danny Torrance is now an adult, played by Ewan McGregor, who I think is one of my favorite actors of all time that just doesn't get talked about enough. I love Ewan McGregor whenever I see him in anything. But I was so blown away by Dr. Sleep. I watched the movie before I read the book, and I was so happy with this film because I went in not knowing what to expect. I went in just thinking that I was hoping it would be in the or decent category here. But I was blown away by how much I loved this movie. I thought this movie had great suspense. I thought it had great horror elements, phenomenal performances, great tension. Basically has its own power system with The Shining that is elaborated on a lot more in this movie. I loved, I forget the little girl, I think Ruby was her name. She was great. She was phenomenal in it. And of course, Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat, the villain. Holy shit. One of the scariest sequences, in recent times to me is when that little boy is killed by all of those, shining, psycho, mist-absorbing crazies. Wow, what a great movie. And the other thing about Dr. Sleep that I think is incredible is that, okay, so the Shining movie, Stanley Kubrick's movie, is very different from the Shining book. Dr. Sleep, the book, is very much a sequel to the book. It does not include the Stanley Kubrick, with the stuff that he did, that was original. It's a sequel to the book. Dr. Sleep, the movie, is this miraculous combination of the two where it does adapt the book very well, but it also puts itself into the universe of the Shining movie. the hotel looks like it does in the Shining movie. There's flashbacks on occasion, very few, but where they have an actor look just like Jack Nicholson. So this movie works as both a great adaptation to the book and a sequel to the Shining movie, if you want to think of it as a sequel. The old lady, disgusting naked old lady, all that stuff, the other apparitions of the hotel. I love Dr. Sleep. It was my favorite movie of that year. It was in my top 10 favorite horror movies of the 2010s. And since this is my list and my list alone, for me, Dr. Sleep is a masterpiece. And you know what? I love this movie so much. Yeah. It's going to be my number 3. I fucking love this movie. And I don't care what anyone says. I fucking love this movie. Anyways, let's end this with Salem's Lot, the remake. No, actually, I like it more than these two, but it's not great. It's not good. I wanted to like it, but it just kept getting worse and worse. It had a couple of moments that stood out. I was going to review it, but I never got around to reviewing it because I just didn't have much good to say about it. And after I watched it, I just figured, I'll just leave that in the back of my mind and try to forget it. So that is my list of my personal favorite Stephen King movies. So I think there might be a few things missing here, but if anything is missing, it's stuff that I have not seen. So when I found this list, I added more movies and shows that I have seen. And I looked over like the Stephen King list on whatever Wikipedia or whatever to try to get a good list. And I think this might be missing like one or two things. Like I haven't seen the Under the Dome TV show, so it would make no sense to add it because I haven't seen it. I have not seen the 11/22/63, the thing about Kennedy. There are any others. It's also stuff I haven't seen. I also did not include, like all the Children of the Corn sequels and stuff, not just because I haven't seen them, but I feel like if it's not written by Stephen King or based on a Stephen King book, even if the original is, the sequels would not be written by Stephen King. So I didn't count those either. So in a general sense, this is my list. So my top 10 would have to be The Shining, Stand By Me, Dr. Sleep, Misery, Shawshank Redemption, Christine, The Running Man, Green Mile, The Stand miniseries, and Creepshow. Those would be my top 10 Stephen King adaptations, which I debated doing a top 10 list or a tier list, but tier list gives us more movies to talk about. So let me know what you think of my list down below. I'm sure this won't be controversial at all, and I'm sure you will all agree with me about my list, but let me know what your at least top 10 is, maybe your top 10, top 5, however you want to rank them down below. Let me know your favorite Stephen King adaptations, but thanks for watching this, guys. I do appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up and a comment to help it out in the algorithm. Next tier list, once I finish rewatching all the movies, is going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, so I can't wait to do that one. So thanks for watching, guys. I love you. I'll see you later.